1. Just a bit of context. I went to a small liberal arts college that had on-campus houses in addition to dorms. I was an RA resident assistant for a grouping of houses. I was in charge of a large house that had a lot of people. This happened in February 2017. So in my junior year of college, I find a camera in my room. I just returned home from dance rehearsal, so I took a shower, changed, fixed a poster, and watched some Vines. As I'm getting ready for bed, I pick out a hair bow I wanted to wear the next day. Well, among the hair bows, I spot a small black box. My first thought is it's one of those funny little ant traps, and the maintenance guy left it there. Which would be weird because I was the RA of that particular building, and should have known about any maintenance. I picked it up, and it had a bit of tape on it. I peeled back the tape to reveal a red light. Well, fuck. I flip it over and find some words. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it had the make and model of the camera. At that moment I realize what it is and my heart drops. What the fuck? I run down the hall to my two good friends' room and show them. We find there's an SD card left in the camera. We want to look on it, but none of our laptops have an SD card reader. No biggie, my friend works in the library, and she'll rent a reader from them. Next day I come home from classes and take a peek at what my friends have found. Footage of me and several other girls in assorted buildings and rooms. There was no compromising footage of me, for which I am very thankful, but there was footage of some other girls peeing, brushing their teeth, all sorts of stuff. I didn't see all the footage, so I don't know exactly what else was on there. Fuck. They then show me footage of the person hiding the camera. Yes, you read that right. The person who hid the camera recorded themselves doing it. And I recognized them. There was another RA on the same staff team as me. At this point, I'm freaking the fuck out. I call our boss who's doing interviews for next year's RAs. And go, dude, I have to talk to you right now. I tell him the situation and he seems calm. Says he'll take care of it. But he needs me to come to his office later that night. I say okay. The next part of that day was excruciating. I had to go to a dinner meeting for a campus organization I was president of. I was worried the person might come back and take their camera while I was gone, so I grabbed it and took it with me. My freshman year roommate was there with me, and on the drive home she asked me what was wrong. I told her and showed her the camera. As we were sitting in the parking lot, someone is walking towards my building. Who should it be but the fucker who had a camera in my room? At this point, I'm having a full panic attack. My friend says she will cover for me. She'll watch the house while I get the fuck out of there. So I just book it away from there. I hid in another building until she let me know he was gone and away. At this point, I meet with my boss. I tell him what happened. He looks at the footage with his boss. I answer questions for campus security. Then I answer questions for the city police. My boss and I go back to my house to make sure there were no other cameras. They take the guy in, question him, and put him in a detaining center of sorts. They keep him in an unoccupied suite in a dorm on campus. I don't sleep well that night. The next morning I have no update of what's going on. I'm looking over my shoulder every 5 seconds, and I am absolutely terrified that he is loose and going to come after me. Then I get a call. He's not allowed out of the room. I have to answer more questions for another police officer. They tell me what they learned from him. He'd begun his voyeuristic shenanigans by hiding a camera in one of his fraternity brothers' rooms, and managed to film him having sex. At this point, he went and put his camera in the women's bathroom and bedrooms of his female residents. I don't remember how many, but there were at least 7 people filmed. They arrested him and he was in jail for 3 days, then released to get his stuff and go to his hometown, until they had the school trial. During this time, the school has to tell our staff team that he will no longer be there for the rest of the year. They refuse to tell them what happened, or let me tell anyone. They said it was so he could leave with dignity, as if he deserved it. Months go by. After many meetings with assorted people, they have his trial. He is expelled. A year later, he has his legal trial with the state the school I attend is in. I was never informed of the results. I still need to call the police station. This was a few months ago. However, I did receive a restraining order in the mail. Somewhere during this mess, I figured out how he got in my house and how he hid the camera. He got into my house because he had been granted keycard access. I live in a weird, large house which had keycards and not keys. He was granted this access because one of my residents needed help getting her stuff out for storage, but had actually mailed her keys and card back home. Apparently, security thought the best way to handle this was to give him keycard access to our house. He knew exactly when I would not be in the house, because the night it was hidden. We had a staff meeting, and I told our group chat I would be leaving a few minutes early to pick up snacks. He knew where I was going, and that I would not be home. It sickens me to think that before he hid that camera, we were laughing in rehearsal together. We were in a large music ensemble together. And after he did it, we were joking around at our staff meeting. Just acting totally normal, as if he didn't just violate my privacy. So creepy dude who hid a camera in my room. Let's not meet ever again. 2. So the backstory. I am a very petite, I get confused for like 15 way more than I'd like, 20-year-old woman. I live in the suburbs of a pretty big North American city, and rely on public transit to get around a lot of the time. I'm no stranger to being catcalled. Usually I can just brush it off. But this incident has left me afraid to walk around my neighborhood. The encounter. I had just gotten to my first bus stop on my way to work. The bench was already occupied by 2 older women, so I just leaned against the post and took out my bus book. After a few minutes, I was interrupted by a man tapping on my shoulder.
This is going to sound weird, but do you work at the Galleria Mall?
Not recently, but I worked there about a year ago.
Oh my god, I thought that I recognized you. I bought clothes from you a couple of times. And we had some really wonderful conversations. I just saw you when I was driving by, and I thought that this was finally my chance to talk to you again.
This is when the alarm bells started going off in my head. Until this point, I'd assumed this was another bus patron, but no. He had been driving past, saw me, and then parked at a nearby gas station, and walked about a quarter of a mile to where I was, wearing headphones with my face buried in a book. I also completely didn't recognize this person. I tried to be polite, telling him that I was glad that I made such a warm impression. He asked me where I was going now, not giving away too much information, but wanting to dissuade him, I told him that I was going to my receptionist job at my father-in-law's office. His face fell.
You're married? Well, why is he letting a catch like you out of the house?
That tore it for me. I like riding the bus. I was short and started to bring my attention back to my book, hoping that would make him get the hint that I wasn't up for conversation.
Aw, don't be like that. Hey, my car is right over there. How about I just give you a ride?
He steps closer to me, enough that I can literally feel his breath on my face. I have no way of getting my personal space back with my back to the stop. No, thank you. I'm a married woman, and getting into strangers' cars isn't really my thing. This starts a back-and-forth argument. He is getting more and more frustrated, begging me to let him give me a ride. The other people sitting at the bus stop are beginning to look at us. At this point, I just want this strange man to leave me alone and let me read my book in peace. I stomp my foot on the ground. No, I like to ride the bus. And this fucking nut grabs my arm and starts dragging. Have I mentioned that I am very small? Me in the direction that he's been pointing to.
I don't know why you're being so difficult. I just don't want you to have to stand out here in the sun. My car is right over here. You let that little girl go.
One of the older ladies finally pipes in after this whole 10-minute squabble, thinking that I am some child being kidnapped. The nut finally lets my arm go, and I am in so much shock I don't even say anything.
All right, well, it was nice seeing you again. Hopefully we run into each other some other time when you have the time to hang out.
Just like that, he went right back to being friendly, as when he first approached me, smiling and waving at me as he walked back to his car. Neither I nor the old ladies at the bus stop spoke for the rest of our wait. So, scary bus stop creeper, sorry to disappoint you, but let's not meet again. 3. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I had been living in Manhattan, New York for the past 4 years due to college. This incident happened primarily over the summer of 2017, and only stopped due to me moving back to my hometown and changing my cell phone number. It all started with a small hobby shop, we'll call it, specialized in card games, and a guy called Jesse. I had met Jesse by the many times I had gone into said hobby shop, and the minor chit-chat we would have while my ex-boyfriend would browse his wares. I soon learned that Jesse and I had a mutual friend in common, and thus the two of us became acquainted. It wasn't long before Jesse added me on Facebook, a social media platform I no longer have, and began talking to me pretty frequently. Most of the time, our conversation primarily consisted of me talking about my ongoing junior thesis work, and his girlfriend troubles and customer issues. It all seemed normal, and when he asked me if he could have my phone number, I didn't think anything of it. Summer rolled around, and he offered for me to come work at his store since it was only a few blocks away from where I currently lived, and would for the entire summer, and so I did. My job was mainly to do online inventory and sort through the stock that the store currently had, so I was mostly on my own as far as work went. I knew the content well, so his help wasn't needed. He would mostly just come around and chat to me. I didn't mind at first until it started getting a little too frequent. He would ignore customers to finish pointless conversations with me, and the intervals were becoming more and more invasive. He also started hugging me and finding any excuse he could to get close to me and put his hands on my shoulders or upper back. I started to feel uncomfortable, but I needed the job, so I just tried to put it past me. One day after the store had closed up, he offered to walk me back to my dorm since the train he needed to take to get back to where he lived was right next to my place. I reluctantly agreed, because had I said no, I was afraid he would just follow me anyway, and perhaps fire me. It wasn't the nicest way to think, but I needed this job. When we arrived outside my dormitory, I was ready to go back inside, but he just stood there hoping to have a conversation with me. I entertained him for a little bit, but it was getting late and I was tired. He eventually asked if he could come inside, which gave me a creepy feeling. Luckily, my dorm doesn't allow visitors after 11 p.m., and it was 12:30-ish at that point. So I told him he couldn't. I excused myself and went inside. At the same time this was all happening, I was talking to a guy I liked almost constantly over Instagram, and felt myself becoming more and more attracted to him. The guy named Vlad returned the feelings, but we weren't dating at that point. Though I must say the feelings were there. Jesse knew that I was on my phone a lot, but he never knew why, and I was happy that he never asked. At least for the time being. It didn't take Jesse long to confront me about being on my phone a lot, not just during work hours, where my work was always finished and above standards that he had asked of me, but outside of work too. I didn't think I owed him an explanation for this, but at this point, I could sense that he might have something for me. So I told him that I was talking to a friend on Instagram because Vlad at the time was a friend. He started getting jealous and muttering the extent of, "You never talk to me that much." I gave him a look and he snapped back to reality. He gave me a smile and told me to just go back to work and to keep it up. I told Vlad about what happened, and he told me to keep an eye on Jesse in case he did anything erratic. On one of my weekends off in late July, I received confirmation that Vlad was coming to visit me in New York for the week of my birthday in August. He lived in Missouri. Ecstatic, the next day at work I told Jesse I needed off for that week. He gave it to me without thinking. It wasn't until later that week when Jesse asked me what I needed the time off for. I told him it was because I had a friend coming to visit me from out of state, and he smiled.
Is that the person you keep texting? He asked.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's practically the male equivalent of me, I said without thinking. Jesse's face turned sour and he told me that he thought I should just go home for the day. I got concerned. Did I do something wrong? I couldn't have. I always did my work efficiently and timely, and was never late to work and never called off. Before I could ask why, he shot me a look. I'm not fucking firing you, but you can just, go home, he growled. I didn't say anything else. I simply gathered my belongings and left to go home. I told Vlad about it, and he warned me that Jesse was jealous and that he didn't trust him around me. I couldn't put what Vlad was saying to the side. It seemed reasonable enough. That night I got a text from Jesse, and he asked if we could talk. Yeah, because I'm not sure what happened earlier, I replied. Look, I'm sorry. I'm just really jealous. There's no not creepy way to say this, but I'm in love with you, okay? He said. Jesse, dude, you have a girlfriend. Plus, I'm flattered, but I don't feel that way about you, I'm sorry. It's fine, you're right. I do have a girlfriend. He didn't say anything else after that, and I didn't see him at work the next day. He texted me, but there was no sign of him. I just went about my work as usual. Later that night, when I got home, he texted me that he had dumped his girlfriend. I was taken way aback by that. He had been dating her for 7 years and had dropped her just like that? That's messed up. It turned into a heated debate, and he argued that now he had a chance with me, and that I should give him that chance. I told him that I didn't feel that way for him, and he just kept trying to get me to go on a date with him. I was so confused. I was majorly creeped out at that point, and just simply told him no. The next morning, I got a knock on my dorm door. While not unheard of, it's uncommon for a door to be knocked on for anything other than a room inspection. It was one of the security guards, I confirmed through my peephole. I opened the door for him. Hey, Rabbit in Reverse, you have a visitor waiting for you in the lobby, he said in a suspicious tone. I wasn't expecting any visitors. I asked the guard what the visitor looked like, and the description he gave me matched Jesse to a T. I informed the guard that he was not invited over, and that if he asked where I was, that I wasn't there. The guard nodded and returned back to the downstairs. I checked my phone to see if there was any messages from Jesse. None. Quiet. I told Vlad, and he grew quite angry, offering to speak to Jesse himself. I insisted that he didn't, lest it create more unnecessary drama. I didn't want Vlad in the middle of this either. I gave the incident an hour before going outside to smoke a cigarette. When I got out there, I saw Jesse standing across the street looking down the opposite way where I was. Frightened, I threw my cigarette out and ran back inside as fast as I could. What the fuck? Why is he waiting outside of my dorm for me? I was officially creeped out. The only saving grace was that Vlad was coming in a few days and I wouldn't be alone. Fast forward to Vlad arriving in New York City. It was the most amazing experience of my life. He was exactly the person he said he was, and he was just as sweet and kind as he was online in real life. Being his first visit to New York City, I took him all over the place, which he captured through his Instagram. I hadn't heard from Jesse for a few days, so I decided to not give it a thought. One of the days, I took Vlad to the Society of Illustrators, and it was there that I received an eerie message from Jesse. Having fun at the society? It said. I froze. I showed it to Vlad, and he concluded that Jesse could only have known that by stalking his Instagram, because he had posted his location along with the picture he took while there. I hadn't posted anything on mine, and even had Jesse blocked. It was getting very scary. On August 13th, Vlad officially asked me to be his girlfriend, to which I happily agreed, and made an announcement about it on Instagram. At that point, I didn't care who saw it because I was so happy. I spent the rest of Vlad's visit in the bliss of a new romance, and was distraught when he had to leave. I had to return to school in 2 days following his departure, and made it a point to quit my job at Jesse's store. One of the other employees relayed the message. On the first day of my new semester, I got several texts from Jesse telling me I was a monster, and that I was trash, and that he had gotten a new girlfriend just to spite me. I honestly didn't care at that point, because I was finally going back to school and I would be preoccupied regardless. Vlad and I chatted more than ever, and Jesse's harassment kept coming day after day. I ended up blocking him on Facebook and blocked his phone number so he couldn't reach me. That didn't stop the random numbers from appearing. At first I didn't know who it was, until I answered one time and it was him. I immediately hung up the phone and blocked that number as well. It continued for months. It was maddening. No matter where I went, the unknown numbers would keep coming, and the "give me a chance, you're a monster, please, I'm so lonely" texts flew in. Even when I went to visit Vlad in Missouri for Halloween, they came. I had to leave my phone at his place just for us to have some peace and quiet. The phone calls and texts stopped because, as I mentioned at the beginning of this story, I finally got my number changed. However, his last attempt to contact me happened about a month ago. I used to have an art Facebook work page that I honestly had forgotten about. One day, my one administrator named Peter for said account told me that he had received a message from someone he didn't know that was directed towards me. Peter told me that it was from my Facebook art page, so I went to investigate. There was an image attached with the message. It read, "Hey, I have no idea why you excommunicated me, or why you hate me and left me for dead. I'm sorry I can't get over losing you as a friend. I would hope at the very least you come to my wedding. I miss being friends. You can block me here too, I just wanted to vent." The account had an automated response. "So Jesse, though you keep trying to get to me, let's not meet." Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 334. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. You think it would be easy to do that part at the beginning of the outro, but I swear I do more takes on that than I do anything else when making a video. It's ridiculous, really. I overthink it too much. Did I put too much emphasis on this syllable? Did I punch this letter too much? And so on and so forth. Silly Hellfreezer. Anyway, good news for those of you who were wondering where last week's glitch video is. There will be one this week. I have all the stories I need for it now, so I might, well, it'll still go up on Thursday, but I might actually get it made ahead of time. We'll see. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.